Thanks. We're in the middle of a major storm, so I've had two power failures already. So if I disappear, I will come back.
Okay.
But I've lost power twice already, so
No
hopefully
worries.
I'll hang in there.
Hopefully you can hang in there. Hi, everybody. This is Sean Adams here at coachinghangout.com for this week's installment of the Life Coaching Hangout, Life Coaching Training Hangout. This week is an open Q&A, so it's a chance for anybody to ask their questions. We're just going to sit and have a conversation about all things coaching. And I think, Wendy, what we were just talking about could actually be a topic of that distinction between coaches talking with each other and this kind of thing. So we'll go into that. I always like to say hello to everybody who comes into the Hangout. And so right now we've got two folks who are in. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Wendy, you are on first, so if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say hello to the people.
Hi, I am Wendy from Melbourne, Australia. I am CEO, founder, lead coach, educator, and a few other things that sometimes titles people would like to give me. And I am a coach and very proud to be a coach. I run a business school for young professionals and young entrepreneurs. So happy to be here. Haven't been here for a while, so it's nice to be back.
It's good to have you back. Nice to have you here, as always. Thanks for being here. Dr. Allen, if you want to say hello to everybody as well.
Sure. Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein. I am actually I am a marketing consultant coach. I actually develop software. I've developed an application called the VIP app, which is a combination of a desktop, iPhone, and iPad app that you could use to get people to see your live events just like this one. And as time has gone on, I think I started out as helping people with marketing. Then I started consulting with people on marketing, and then I started coaching people. So I think it's come to the point where now coaching is probably as much a part of my income as almost anything else. So happy to be here. Always happy to contribute if I can, and hopefully the storm will keep me, will not stop me from being here today.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we appreciate you coming as always. And I hope the storm doesn't prevent you from coming as well, or staying and hanging out with us as well. This is, as we said at the beginning, this is a Q&A session where it's just everybody gets to ask whatever questions are on their mind around coaching. Just kind of an open conversation day. So any thoughts, anything that you guys feel you want to discuss today on today's Hangout? Go ahead, Dr. Allen. I couldn't tell if that was the thumb behind you or your arm up, but it looks like it's your arm up. So go ahead, Dr. Allen.
Someone's giving me the thumb. No. Anyway, well, I figured, as long as it's open mic, let me bring up a topic today that I think will be helpful for people, and maybe we can bounce off of this a little bit, and maybe people want to jump in here. I had a conversation with one of the people I'm coaching with this morning of a very interesting situation they had. They happened to run a very successful multidisciplinary medical clinic. Not chiropractic is a small piece of it. They have every kind of discipline: medical doctors, pain specialists, physiotherapists, acupuncturists, you name it, they have. And what happened is that they've increased, and I consult with them on their business basically, and they've done something recently that they didn't consult with me about. And so I want to bring up the topic about, do your coaching clients always keep you on top of what's going on? And if they don't, you need to make sure they do, because otherwise you're getting half of the story, and then when you're giving advice based on not having all the information, which makes you not as effective as you can be. So I think it's a great story to talk about. I think we can make a conversation out of it. And if it's not, we can always change subjects. We're also flexible here. So anyway, what happened is that as this person has been increasing their services, they have been billing more and more, doing more and more services, and they hired a new billing company, which I did not know about. And now, even though they're billing more and doing more services, their collections are less. Well, that tells us right away we have a problem with the company that they hired. So now they hired a company that's bringing in less revenue that they're paying. So it's costing them more, a little more overhead to bring in less money because they're doing something wrong. So because they were upset about it and frustrated, and they were upset that they didn't tell me that they hired this new company, they made the super blunder. They went from the blunder to the super blunders. They hired another company to help them find out why the billing company is not collecting all the money. So now they're paying a company that for the billing that's not doing a good job. They're losing money there. And now they hired another company because they were uncomfortable not telling me. And now they're paying someone else to figure out what someone else they're paying. So ultimately, the conversation we had was not even on really what's the billing company doing wrong, but on if you're going to have a relationship, a coaching relationship, and you want me to be as most effective, if you decide not to tell me something for whatever reason that might be, don't make a second mistake and try to cover it up by getting someone else involved. Now there's 3 people involved, and now we got to unravel that puzzle before we can even figure out what the real underlying problem is. So I thought it might be an interesting conversation for us today.
Well, and I think if I can kind of summarize it a little bit, it's the fact that, one, if you have a coach who's helping you with a certain aspect, say managing your business, growing your business, they need to know what's going on in order to be able to give you the best advice. So that's it's actually all comes back around to the concept of communication and how is communication happening. First of all, you've got to make sure that people are communicating effectively with you as a coach so that when you give advice, you're giving advice based on the full story or as much of the story as you can get. The other side of this, and this is the other piece I see a lot of people doing and that comes up often in my coaching, is it almost sounds like these folks decided to, I call it the shiny penny syndrome, where they just decided to chase. Somebody came along and said, this is a better billing option. And so they're like, oh, okay, and they jumped on it without really doing the research, without really checking in to see if this really was the best option. And now they are backpedaling trying to fix a problem that they took on because they chased something that looked amazing instead of really doing their due diligence in choosing that. And so there's 2 pieces there. 1, effective communication between the coach and the client. And 2, helping your clients understand that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And helping them understand that due diligence is extremely important when making decisions. Does that kind of summarize what you're getting at there, Dr. Allen? And it looks like Dr. Allen froze. Okay, but that's kind of my take on it. Wendy, what's your thought on what Dr. Allen was saying?
Yeah, and I'd say another dimension around that relationship is that trust, that a big part of the coachee relationship is for them to feel safe and to trust you and to feel like they can tell you everything at all times, not to feel like they have to withhold. And so mistakes are acceptable, vulnerabilities are acceptable, it's okay to stuff up and it's okay to disclose because that's part of the learning and the growth within the coaching relationship. So that concern, it could be a concern around that this person felt they needed to be perfect perhaps in the coach's eyes and not disclose. And my understanding is this can happen in a lot of professional relationships, especially in counselling relationships too. People feel they need to be perfect in the eyes of the counsellor or the psychotherapist, so they don't disclose. So I don't know what that is about necessarily, but I'm guessing that's probably a topic within itself as well. But yeah, so it's a part of what Dr. Allen was saying is what I'm hearing as well.
Yeah, there can often in coaching or in a coaching relationship be a perceived position of authority for the coach, but there can also be a perceived judgment from the participant on the coach. Unfairly often, but often they are worried that the coach is going to be disappointed in them. And in a good coaching relationship, there isn't ever that disappointment. The only time there's anything that even resembles disappointment is if you committed to doing something and you didn't do it, then there's an issue of lack of credibility. But I'm never going to judge a decision. I'm never going to, if you say that you were going to get $10,000 in income this month and you only got 6, it's not that you did bad. We're going to explore what did you do to get that 6, and how can you do that more often, and what else did you do that didn't get you anything, and how can you, what can you be doing more of to increase that 6, and what can you get rid of so that you're not wasting your time on other things. But often I think the client has that concern that, oh, the person's going to judge me, the person's going to think badly of me, or there's a desire to impress the coach can also happen.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this and look how good I am. So go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that, because that's what I'm finding a lot lately, both with the subcontracting clients I've got through you guys and the Richard Branson clients and so on. If they don't do something because stuff gets in the way, either issues or life, they beat themselves up, they feel so guilty, and they would prefer not to come to a call than come to a call and talk about what they didn't do. So I find that like it's almost like a shame thing. It's a big human thing that gets in the way. So they do see a coaching relationship as very much being an accountability teacher relationship. Almost, I didn't do my homework, so therefore I'll be punished and my coach will be cross, so therefore I won't come. But as I've tried to say, that's all the more reason for coming, because then there's an opportunity to absolutely explore what is getting in the way and what ideas you have as a coachee to shift those things that are getting in the way.
Yeah, and we always talk about this, that you can have three things can happen with an agreement. You either stick to the agreement, you don't stick to the agreement, or you renegotiate the agreement. And I'm fine with the first or the third. The second is when I'm unhappy or disappointed, or I have to confront my coaching clients about something. I don't care. Number 3 is actually my favorite. If they did what they said they were going to do and it's done, that's fantastic. I'd rather have them be self-aware enough to say, hey, I know I said I was going to have this done by this Friday. It's not going to happen. I'm letting you know on Thursday. I won't have it to you till Monday. Great, and we'll talk about why and is it legit. And 99% of the time, it really is legit. Something came up. Sometimes it's just, they have excuses and you can work with that. But I'd much rather have that communication of I need to renegotiate our agreement than not doing the agreement and then trying to hide it or run from it or not be seen or whatever that is. Show up to the coaching call. Even if it's at the coaching call, you start by saying, before you even ask, I have to let you know I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and here's why. That to me is a much greater success than even sometimes doing what you said you were going to do, because it takes the courage, the awareness, and the communication that needs to happen. But it's the coach's job to build that kind of an environment, and you state that from the beginning, that if this is how we work, I'd rather have you do 1 and 3. I don't ever want number 2 of what can happen with an agreement. If you make that clear at the beginning, it empowers them to be okay with not having accomplished something or done something because they are open to something else. I think that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think we've answered Dr. Allen's question, because he clearly is happy because he's gone. So tick that one off. On to the next one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think based what he was asking on, I think we've covered. I know you had brought something up before we went live. Do you want to just bring up that concept and we can explore it from the idea of coaching and what should happen?
Yeah. I know often in coaching, and this is my situation, it's not like other professions where we have professional supervision. A lot of the times we're on our own, but as professionals working in that space, I believe it's really important to have a group of people that you can truly have supervision with. And by supervision, I mean a safe container, a safe space to unpack and learn and grow yourself as a coach and a professional. And so my suggestion to Sean was to have some sort of breakaway forum from this one where it's not public, so it's not anybody that can see what I'm raising and what I'm talking about, and it very much is, and I don't mean this in an elitist way, but it's by invitation only, because it very much is for absolutely professional coaches, those that are working clearly professionally in that space. It's not, and this is not to judge or be against those people, it's not for people that have coaching as only a small part of their role, or who in a slapdash way put up a shingle that says I'm a coach, but in actual fact they're not. They're more of a teacher or a consultant or a medical practitioner or whatever. It is truly for coaches, and it truly is private and sacred and safe. So that was my suggestion.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good suggestion, because it gives me a nice way to talk about what this Hangout is and what it's supposed to be versus other things. So this Hangout is generally topics related to coaching, and this is available to anybody who is in coaching or is planning to get coached, so that they learn to communicate with their coach better, so they get the most out of what they're investing in. And it's also for just general coaches to talk about what's going on and maybe improve their abilities, their skills, and how they go about being a coach. That's different than, say, a coaching mastermind where we bring, trained professional coaches together to really go to that next level of coaching. This is kind of intro to coaching, coaching 101 kind of stuff, and that's what this was always designed for. But that next level of, all right, we are trained professional coaches, but we've got some other things coming up. And you're right, there are some times that those are private conversations where we want to be able to discuss something that isn't going to be seen by the people that we coach. Because right now, anything I say on here, anyone I coach could watch, and they could see it and they could hear it. And the important thing is that what I say here matches what I actually do with my clients. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble with that. But that's the reason why it's public, it's available. I'm being transparent in my coaching and my coaching approach, my recommendations for coaching approaches, things like that. But there are times where we discuss things that should not be public, should not be seen by people that we work with, that are our coaching clients. And it's not that we're talking about them, it's not that we're disclosing confidential information, it's that we are talking about things that they don't need to know that we're talking about. And it's not super cool private, we need our own space. You have a coach to help you grow and become better. We as coaches need to have our own community to help us grow and become better. And your coaching situation with you and your coach is confidential between the two of you guys, just like our coaching circle is confidential amongst us. So we're free to say anything we want, discuss anything we want. I'm part of a men's group that meets on Tuesday nights, and the #1 rule is confidentiality. We never talk about what happens in that meeting. We might talk about like an experience that happened, but we never talk about the men, what they brought, what they said, what happened. It's confidential. So and the only reason that group works is because we were able to do that confidentially. If we didn't have that trust and that belief it was going to be confidential, that group would not be able to work. And as professional coaches, we need to have that as well. So I'm a fan of that, and it is something we're going to be pursuing. If that's something you might be interested in, leave a comment. Let us know that you'd be interested. And myself and probably at least one other of us who are going to be part of that group will want to talk to you, interview you, see if you really are at that level of coaching that we are, because this is a chance for us as our coaches to take it to the next level. We are happy to have this conversation and support other coaches, but we have multiple years of experience and training behind us. If you're just getting into coaching, that's what this Hangout is for. Our little mastermind group may not be the right thing. So I just want everybody to understand and hear that effectively. And
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the mastermind forum approach is perfect. And in fact, Robert McPhee and I had that conversation as well. We thought the mastermind approach would be absolutely perfect for that. So yeah, I'm glad that you raised that as well. With what is it? Singing from the same hymn book.
Yeah, yeah, and it matters. That distinction between coaching training, which is kind of what this is about, and masterminding for people who are at semi-equivalent levels of experience and knowledge are two very different things. This is a coaching hangout. This is not mastermind hangout. Masterminds are a different function. They're a different entity. They're a different creature, and they run differently. They function differently. How we talk about things in them are different. And so that doesn't mean that it's not valuable, and it doesn't mean that this isn't valuable. They both serve a purpose, but they serve different purposes. And so some of us are going to choose to also have this in our lives. It doesn't mean Coaching Hangout goes away because we see this as valuable as well, but it's also going to show that this mastermind is valuable for us to move forward in our own way. It's two very different things, and it's important that you know that. And the reason I'm kind of going on about this is from a coaching hangout perspective, or from these life coaching training hangouts. The idea is you need to be able to distinguish, is this a coaching session? Am I going to start creating a group coaching session, or is this a mastermind for my group? And a group coaching and a group mastermind are run differently, functioning differently. And if you're saying, I don't know, it means that you need to keep it as a group coaching call. If you can't, if you say, oh, I don't know what that would mean to have a group mastermind for my coaching clients, then you're not having one. You need to have gone through a mastermind. You need to have experienced it as a participant. You need to have assisted in masterminds with a trained facilitator before you even start to try to think about running your own mastermind. It's the same thing with coaching. You need training before you're actually a coach. Same thing with mastermind. A lot of people put up a shingle and say, we're going to run a mastermind. If you've never been in a mastermind, you can't run a mastermind. If you've never helped facilitate a mastermind, you can't run a mastermind. And I don't know if that seems mean or harsh or unfair, but it's just true. and it's also true in coaching, that you need to have some semblance of training. You can't just sit there and put up a site and say, I'm a coach now. Have you ever been coached? Have you ever done coaching? Have you ever been trained in coaching? Do you know the difference between coaching and counseling? Do you know where your responsibilities stop, what your responsibilities are? Do you know where confidentiality lies in coaching? That you are not, it's not a confidential, you don't have a coach-client privilege like you would in like lawyer-client privileges. That doesn't exist in coaching. There's lots of things you need to understand, which is why we do these Hangouts. So you've got to be able to, you've got to know where you're at, and you've got to be able to make that distinction.
Yep, that's spot on. Spot on.
So this is, I think it's, and so I think this is good for people to hear, that there are levels in coaching. There's levels of knowledge and experience. There's levels in training. There's perceptions that of your abilities and your knowledge. Sometimes people will do something just to be able to put letters behind their name, or say that I've been certified in this coaching, and there are some good coaching certification programs, and there are some bad coaching certification programs. There are some that you literally pay, you get a manual, you read it, you take a little quiz off the manual on an open book test that you can do in your time. So really all you have to do is have the book, look up the question, answer it, and then all of a sudden you're a certified coach, but you never sat with anybody, you never did a coaching session, you didn't have your coaching session critiqued. To me, in order to really get certified as a coach, you have to have done coaching. You have to have somebody else who's observed your coaching and given you feedback so that you can improve. If it's just, here's some basic concepts you need to understand, great, good job, but you've never physically coached somebody, but you're getting certified, that's an issue to me.
Yeah, totally agree. So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so where to from here? I don't know, do we put some stuff in, like some operating guidelines without getting too carried away? You know, what it is, what it isn't, who would be an ideal person to come in, when it might happen, do you, myself, Robert, and shoot a few emails around to each other? I'll be guided by you. I have no idea. I haven't thought it past the conversation with Robert and then having a chat to you now.
Well, and I think the point is you first identify a few people who are going to be the core members of the group, and then that group gets together in some manner. And I think emails is going to be more problematic than beneficial. I think it's scheduling a time, everybody gets together in a Hangout, and we talk about what, like, for all we know, this sounds really nice on paper, but we're going to get together, have a conversation, and realize that what you want isn't what Robert wants out of it, and it isn't what I want out of it, and so what we're trying to form wouldn't actually help us. But if we all have similar desires and goals and intentions, then we can form our group. But so that, to me, that's the right approach to take, is bring the people together, have a conversation as a group, identify the wants, desires, the outcomes people are hoping to get, and see if there is overlap and if there's congruency there. Because then you can move forward and start to identify something.
Okay, so that sounds good. So will we earmark that for after the Oceanside event, given Oceanside's coming up and it's quite busy?
Yeah, I would say end of July, beginning of August, the three of us should get together, and if there's anybody else we want to bring in, or anybody else who might express interest in wanting to come in, and like I said, you can just leave a comment underneath the video, and we'll look at it and we'll get in touch with you. Just give us a way to contact you if you feel like you're at that point where you want to be in a experienced coach's mastermind. The three of us know each other really well, but I think it's also benefit to bring somebody else in that we may not know as well, but has our level of knowledge and experience to be able to move forward.
Absolutely, that sounds fantastic. I should probably go now so I can get organised for that next one because I wouldn't want to be late. So will I say goodbye and leave on my one word?
Sure, your one word or your concept or your idea, last thing you want to share with the group before you go.
My one word is awesome. I think that it's perfect timing for me personally to be involved in some sort of closed mastermind coaching supportive group. So very, very, very awesome. Very pumped.
Excellent. And I'm looking forward to, and I love the concept, and I'm glad you guys brought it up. It'll be beneficial. I think it will help all of us. So go to your meeting. I'll be over there in just a minute as soon as I wrap this up.
Okay.
And I think we are good.
Great. Thanks, Sean. See you soon. Bye.
Yes, just a minute. All right, everybody. So we are going to wrap it up here. If you have other further questions, go ahead and leave them below. We might make next week's topic the difference between group coaching and masterminding. I'm not sure. I'll come up with something and I'll post the next event out there for everybody to be able to come and enjoy. If you're watching the replay, leave comments below. I do check this page throughout the week and look for any other comments or questions and reply. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us every week on these coaching hangouts. It's going to be, I'm hoping these are still continuing to be very beneficial for you, and I will talk to everybody again same time and channel next week. Cheers, everybody.